Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey, what's up, guys? Back with the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, answering your questions. So, fix my camera there. Sorry. Anyways, I got an anonymous question here. It says, love the channel, then followed by please read anonymously, which I will always do. Anybody that doesn't want their name mentioned, I'm glad to not mention your name, guys. I understand 100% with the state of home distilling being what it is. Even if I would like to see it changed, it's not. Always remember, know your local laws, know your federal laws, etc. And don't do anything stupid, right? I don't want to encourage anybody to break the law here, one way, shape, form, or the other. So in a home setting, does it make sense to age in a barrel if the barrel can't be filled all at once? I run a small setup and have a 3-gallon oak barrel, and currently it takes 3 to 4 batches to fill. This would take a month about on my setup. Is there any reason not to fill the barrel as final products become available? Also, on emptying, would taking 1 gallon out and replacing it with new products serve any purpose, or should I completely dump and start over? Great questions. So I would say, a month to fill a barrel is not that bad. And, 3 gallons being what it is, it's not a huge deal, money-wise and time-wise, I suspect. It's all expensive. It's not a cheap hobby, for sure. If you're going to let it set more than a month, I would say just hold off and build up your distillate and then buy a barrel and then fill the barrel all at once. The reason I say that, especially for larger barrels, say 15s and 20s or 30s or even 53s, if people are doing that at home, I don't know if they are or not. If you are, more power to you, brother or sister, one way, shape, form, the other. Anyways, I would say be careful with it then, because the amount of surface area that you have, of course, where the liquor's not touching that barrel can dry out. You go to roll that barrel, you're going to lose some liquid. You might not be able to get sealed back up with that liquid in there. And also the surface area that you have on the top of the inside of that barrel, there's a lot more air interaction there. And so you're going to get a lot more evaporation and lose a lot more liquor that way until you get that barrel filled up. So in some instances, you'd be better off just to, distill, get all the liquid buildup that you need to fill a barrel, buy the barrel, fill the barrel all in one time. But if you are able to fill one within a month and that's your goal, like, hey, I'm going to buy this barrel, get this run done. I'm going to put what's in there or what I get off this run into that barrel. And I'm going to keep filling that barrel up till I get through it in a month. It's not going to hurt anything at all, right? Now, all the contents aren't going to be exactly the same age and at the exact same maturity, and quality-wise, that could potentially maybe be an issue, but most likely not. You're going to be able to, taste that barrel and select what you want out of it when you want it, and that's a nice thing about that. Now, as far as let me find your question here. On emptying, would taking a gallon out and replacing it with new products serve any purpose, or should I completely dump and start over? Actually, that's very much so like what a Solera system is, right? You always leave a little bit of the old product in the barrel for consistency over time and for that richness of flavor. And over time, as long as you're leaving some of that in there, you're getting a little bit more oak extraction. You're getting more of that barrel coming to the forefront. And you're almost using that as an extract to flavor the rest of the product that you add to it. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all, just keeping good notes on it so you know what was put in there when, and, to keep an eye on it and all that sort of stuff. You can make great product that way. There's certainly some great rums that are made that way. I know some guys doing some Solera whiskey stuff. As a matter of fact, we've got some stuff put away at our distillery that is Solera whiskey stuff. And I'm real excited about it. So, yeah, that is a legit methodology there. So, that being said, I'm going to move into the next email here if I can find another one. I didn't realize I could answer that question that quickly, so I got time for another one if I can find one. Here we go. So, hey again, Alan, you talk about Sweetwater in your videos, but I'm still a little confused on the subject. Is the Sweetwater what comes off the still during the spirit run in the 15 to 10% ABV range? So, part of the tails are after. You talk about fortifying the Sweetwater. I'm guessing you use some of the Hearts cut for storage, but how much? 60 proof? My other question is about maceration. Is there an optimal proof for different ingredients, like one for fruits and berries, one for nuts, one for herbs, etc.? Barrel proof is basically the optimal range for oak, 65 to 50% ABV, as I recall. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge. So, great questions. Sweetwater. So typically Sweetwater is going to be somewhere between 10 and 15 proof off of the still is where that's going to be at, okay? When I say that I fortify it, that's exactly what I do, is I use some of the hearts to raise the ABV of the sweet water so that it doesn't turn to vinegar on me over time, because it is low enough proof that it will oxidize. The trick is to get to about 20% alcohol, and then you don't have to worry about it too much, kind of like a fortified wine, right? That you can put into the barrel. It's not actively fermenting, but it's high enough alcohol, it's not going to spoil on you, it's not going to go bad. You can use a formula, I think it's called the Pearson square, to figure out exactly how much alcohol at what proof you'd have to add to that to take it up to 20% alcohol, essentially. And that formula will be in the new book that's coming out very shortly as well, the new Alchemist Cabinet Volume 2 book that's coming up. So the question about maceration: is there an optimal proof for different ingredients, like one for fruits and berries, one for nuts, one for herbs, etc.? So this one gets touchy because it depends on what you're doing. So depending on the tradition, typically say like a Geist, a German style Geist, where you're actually fermenting fruit that you're going to redistill. You're looking at 24-hour maceration. You want 1 hour of that at 100 proof, and most of the time the alcohol is going to be at 60, 70, or 80 proof, somewhere in that range roughly. That's pretty common even with gin and aquavit. So botanical wise, you have that as well. If you break down those botanicals and say you're going to do one botanical at a time, each of those botanicals is going to have a different proof and a different amount of heat that may or may not be necessary to get the ideal response. Overall, though, it's one of two things. It's either 1 hour at 100 degrees and then 24 hours of maceration and 60 to 80 proof alcohol, or it is 1 hour at 145 degrees, 1 hour or less. You don't even have to stay an hour. You just hit 145 is what you do. And then macerate, that's what you do for absinthe, for example. All your absinthe botanical, short of what's going to go in the vapor basket, traditionally we're at 145 degrees and then macerated for 24 hours, up to 2 days sometimes. So it really kind of varies depending on what the product is that you're trying to make. I know that you're looking for more specific answers than that, but those are kind of the guidelines in general. And from there, it's a matter of personal preference, right? What I would say is that for roots and things of that nature, because you asked specifically about, nuts are a good example, and roots as well. Lower proof, water's going to be a better solvent on those more cellulosic materials than ethanol is, so it's going to work better for those. But your proof is also going to vary sometimes depending on whether or not you're doing a green botanical, as far as it's freshly harvested, or you're doing one that's actually been dried too. So just something that you're going to want to play with. There's quite a bit of research out there, and some of the gin distillers in the home distilling forums, they get really deep into this stuff, and the absinthe guys too, if you can find them. Now they're a little bit more of a hidden lot out there, and they are very advanced home distillers, I will say that. If you have any in particular that you want to know about, just let me know, and I will give you the best possible answer that I can. So you also mentioned barrel proof is basically the optimal range for oak, 65 to 50% ABV, as I recall. Yes, so it depends on what you want. If you're making a brandy, I would always with a brandy stay at a high proof for barreling, because I want to hold on to the volatility of that fruit. Otherwise, that barrel is going to run it over. For me, with whiskey, I like to drop down to about 105 or so for the barreling, because again, water is a better solvent on wood than ethanol is, and I'm able to break down more of that cellulosic and that lignin structure with the lower proof over time, and get more of that barrel influence into the whiskey that way. So hopefully I answered your question well, guys. And as always, reach out to me, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, social media, and or the comments below on YouTube. Thank you guys for all your support and always being cool as hell and leaving comments on the page. I really appreciate it greatly, guys. Love you. See you later.